Would I be able to talk with Zuckerberg directly? A straight line to Zuck?
A straight line to Zuck, man.
Hold on, because we got a straight line to Zuck.
I've been given a gift from my wife.
Oh, what's that?
Before the podcast began, I am wont during the colder months to make hot drinks for myself. And one of the things I've been making recently is a hot toddy.
Great drink.
Great drink. Really enjoy it. I love the taste of honey and mint. It's delicious. Emily Alice suggested that I am making a hot poddy.
Oh, a hot potty. A hot pod.
Which unless you see it spelled, I think may cause a little confusion. This is not a hot toilet.
Oh,
it
God,
is a hot toddy. A hot toddy made for the podcast.
A hot toddy for the pod E.
Yeah, you really got to emphasize it's not potty.
Yeah, not potty, it's potty. Please, Nicolaj.
Please, I am not drinking the hot toilet.
I mean, that's probably a drink somewhere. The hot toilet.
Just a disastrous amount of alcohol in it.
With like Tabasco and Mike's Red Hots in it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. You conjured that pretty quick, dude.
Tahini on the rim.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, that is a lot of tahini.
It's a lot of tahini.
The whole toilet, man.
It's a lot, I mean, you get what you pay for. This is a $50 drink.
Yeah. It's that like, you know how they serve like punch bowl alcohol sometimes? They bring out like the whole toilet.
You have to drink it out of a plunger.
Oh my God. Welcome to Dumpsters. Nothing but terrible, disgusting drinks here.
Welcome to Dumpsters. Here's your shit.
Hi, hello, welcome. It's Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of dumpsters. No, video games. My name is Chase.
My name is David.
And just real quick, hey, thanks Async for letting us post your episode in our feed.
That was great. It's a fun time.
That was great. It's a fun time, fun episode. If you're interested in doing that, go listen to Async. It's a good podcast. Probably have another good episode out by the time this is up. So enjoy.
Good episodes only.
Stay good eps. We got so many hits in the Async catalog.
Really, they're the ludicrous of podcasts, truly.
That is true. Yeah, that's what people are saying. But hi, welcome to the the God of War segment where we just talk about God of War. Normally we talk about the other games we're playing. Do you have anything else besides God of War to talk about?
I have one other thing.
Why don't you do that first?
Okay, it's Minecraft Dungeons.
What the fuck? Whoa. I mean, it's a good game.
It is a good game.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun, easy, top-down game to play with Mallory.
Oh, yeah, good co-op on this one.
Have you played this one?
I have, yeah.
I was about to say, I think you played this one. Surprisingly fun.
Yeah, no, it's good.
There's a lot going on here. It's the epitome of mindless fun. And I say that in a nice way. I'm not like having to think hard about things, and the game is very forgiving, but it's still fun to go around and hack away at these mobs and Endermen and what have you. It's great.
It is one of Chris Plant's patented weed games where like you can just sort of turn your brain off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And play the game.
It's on guide rails for you. Surprisingly charming as well with the music and just like the look of the world.
Yeah.
And they give you a lot of fun things to play around with. And I also really love that they let you take back any of your upgrade points by just salvaging an item.
Yeah.
So I'm never feeling like I should save these. I'm just going for it. With each and every item that I have, I'm just maxing them out right away.
I really appreciate games. And I feel like in the last couple of years, I've been doing more and more of that of like, you can just redo your talent tree whenever you want to in any of these games.
It's so much
really
nicer.
nice. Yeah, like it encourages a certain level of experimentation that like is very nice. It's very cool.
It seemed needlessly restrictive before. It's like, why can't I just redo this?
I think it almost makes more sense in like an MMO sort of situation where you kind of want people to like commit a little bit to filling a specific role. And like I could definitely see an argument against that because like I think WoW lets you reset your shit pretty regularly. But like it makes sense to me of like, you know, like try this for a little while and see if this is like a role that you can fulfill. But like in a single player game or, you know, even co-op like this, like why not? Like let somebody try it out. Like there's so much stuff that they've built in there.
Exactly.
For different talents and stuff. Like why not let somebody try it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just it's just there to let you have fun and experiment and do cool things. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. They also let me have a llama, pet llama.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
The thing rips. It's so powerful. It's just spitting across the map, blowing things up. It's awesome.
I'm seeing that there's a lot of extra content that wasn't there the last time I played it.
There's a lot going on in this game. There's a bunch of different levels. There's secret missions that you can go on, or secret levels that you can get from each level, and then you can go and play those. And now there's also different realms, and there's constant. It's like it's a live service game. There's constant change going on in the world with this adventure hub, I think it was, and you can go and just like do a tower run and just see how far you can get. There's a lot going on in this game.
I didn't realize that it was being developed so actively still. When I played it last, I sort of saw the end of the game. Like I was like, okay, like I can see where the game is going. I see sort of where like the levels are all sort of pointing towards and going. It sounds like they've really built out a lot of it. Just interesting. Not surprising for like a Minecraft game, but like it is neat that they're still developing it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a fun game. I'm really enjoying it, and I think we're going to be playing this for a while. It's just a nice, like you said, weed game. Turn your brain off and just press the buttons, and you'll probably do something that's right.
No, it's good. I can see how this would be a good co-op game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a history of like Diablo games? Because this is like sort of in the same vein as like a Diablo.
It is very Diablo-y. I played the first Diablo, I think, but I was a young lad and got lost constantly.
It's hard to navigate in those games.
So I kind of tapped out on Diablo early because of that one negative experience. But I'm always interested in going back in and doing it. Do the new ones have local co-op, or is it only online?
I can't say for sure. I feel like when I played Diablo 3 on launch, which was fun. Just to back up a little bit, I don't have nearly as much of a history with the series. Like Diablo 1 and 2 are definitely games that are like huge blind spots for me. The kind of experiences people talk about of like, oh yeah, I played like Diablo for like hundreds and hundreds of hours. Like I just didn't have that. And so I played 3 on release, and if I remember correctly, the like response was kind of mixed at the time, which was in like 2012 to be fair. And I don't think that there was local co-op then, at least like, you know, LAN co-op. I bet that it is a thing that is possible now, because they've released so many versions of that game. Reaper of Souls was like a version that they put out, and then Rise of the Necromancer 2 was another like I think DLC pack. So like they were developing it for a while, and I bet any of the console releases you could play co-op with.
Okay,
definitely a different tone though than the Minecraft games.
Oh yeah. No, but I think Mallory would be into it if we did that.
Nice.
Because I mean, it's just been a long wait for Baldur's Gate 3 to drop. Whenever that's going to happen. So we just have to find different games to play together, and this one seems good.
I tried playing the remake of Diablo 2 on the Switch. I didn't love it, David. I didn't love that game.
Diablo 2.
Yeah, there's a remake of it that came out on Switch.
People love that one.
They do, and I don't know, man. I don't want to dunk on anybody's fave, because I know that is like very much heralded as a good one. But I had like the same problem you did of like it was very tough to navigate. I didn't really know where I was going all the time, and like I'm sure like hardcore gamers will call me lame for not knowing where to go. You just got to read your quest log, dog. But like when I've come from being used to Diablo 3, and like Torchlight was another one that I played for a little while, that was in kind of a similar vein. It felt kind of like a step backward in ways that were like not totally palatable. That's kind of the only, I'm looking at lists of like other Diablo like games, and that's kind of the only one that really stands out to me.
Diablo
of those like, top down isometric, not looter shooters, but just looter games.
Dungeon crawling looters.
Yeah. I'm excited about the fourth one though. I'm interested to see kind of what direction they take that.
It didn't come out already?
Diablo 4?
Yeah.
Next year when it's coming out.
Okay, soon.
Yeah. It's sweet. Nice. Love to see it.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, fun. It's fun. It's a good game for gamers. Would you like to talk about God of War, David?
Yeah, let's do it. It's the Lingbacher in the room right now.
Wow, nice. So let me see where to start. Do you want to talk about you've played all of these games?
Yes.
Almost certain of.
I haven't played God of War Ascension.
Is it the PSP one?
No, that's Chains of Olympus and Ghosts of Sparta. Please, Chase.
Damn.
Which both of those I did play. But I did not play God of War Ascension, which was on the PS3. I think it came out after the third game. That one I missed. I think it was a prequel, because I think 3 ended with Kratos dying, supposedly, right?
I mean, yeah, sort of. Given the fact that he is in 2018 and now God of War Ragnarok.
Well, it was alluded to that it was like he died, but then it was like, oh, did he die?
Yeah.
At the end. But yeah, I played a lot of these games.
Yeah, same. What were your thoughts about them as a kid? Like, how did they hit you when you were younger? The 1 through 3 series, I mean.
They felt very mature.
Which is hilarious in hindsight, just how goofy these games are.
They're super goofy and they're kind of cringy, mature, looking back on it nowadays. But I mean, the real draw was the Greek pantheon, the large scale fights and battles, fighting these, pretty well crafted boss battles and creatures, and having a really amazing and fluid combat system. So that was really what I enjoyed about these games, was the combat and the setting more than anything else, and just feeling like I was part of a Greek myth.
It was, I'm sort of in a similar spot of like, so I was like 14, 15 when these games were coming out. Like,
it was high school.
I would say that this was like sort of the perfect storm for me at the time of like, I was a teenaged boy, like
it's bloody and kind of horny. Here we go.
Yeah, and like I feel like those first three were very much a 15-year-old boy's version of what mature is, like
absolutely.
This is like, maturity means violence and there's boobs and stuff. Like,
yeah, means violence, boobs, and not doing anything that's good for you yourself emotionally.
Yeah, and like it's bizarre after having played like Silent Hill 2, because like say if you took out the more violent parts of Silent Hill 2, I would say that is by far a more like emotionally mature game. Like the shit that they're tackling there is like,
absolutely,
I would say almost inappropriate for someone that young to play. Whereas like God of War, the first like 3, it's like, yeah, I mean like there's a boob in there, and like I would say the treatment of pretty much everybody except Kratos is like terrible, right? Like,
yes,
every character in there is awful and he treats them poorly. And like, there's just a lot of violence, right? Like it is a kind of like comedically over the top nonsense that I think isn't as like, M for mature. There, the foreground is mature. The background is not.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. On the when you try to go a little bit deeper and there's nothing there.
Yeah, no, not really. You're kind of just a dude killing gods.
Yeah, that's it. That's
the thing,
and that's the pitch for the game. That's the elevator pitch for the game, and it got greenlit for three.
Yeah, for a lot of video games. And like, I think that served my need at the time. Like, that was a game series that I really enjoyed, and like, especially the third one felt like kind of an achievement of like, wow, look at these fucking video games.
It was a spectacle.
And it's sort of bizarre because like the third one came out in 2010, which feels a lot more modern than I think of this series as. Like,
sure,
God of War feels like a very mid 2000s series to me.
I agree. Yeah, it feels older than it is, I guess, for God of War 3 at least.
And so like it's interesting to look back on this because it's 2010 felt like a sort of right around there was when games were like, what if we were like not just like crazy all the time? What if we could do like something thematic
what if we pump
in
the
a video
brakes
game?
a little bit here?
Yeah, and like, I think the rise of like indie games around that time, and like just other game series taking themselves like a touch more seriously.
Yeah. Well, when did The Last of Us come out?
I think that was 2013 for PlayStation 3, and then a year later for PlayStation 4.
Ah, okay, 2013. That sounds
2013,
right.
Which is shocking. Like, I kind of forget just how much of a watershed moment Last of Us 1 was for me. Like how it was like, wow, these games are really serious now. And like,
yeah,
I think the second one is like a whole can of worms, but I think for me, at least personally, like the first one was a big moment of saying like, okay, games are saying something. There's a story that is being told in here that isn't just ridiculous stuff, and especially if you're tracking this as far as like first party Sony games go. Yeah, from 2010 to 2013, it's only 3 years between the wild shit going on in God of War 3 to like we're telling a kind of quiet and very sad zombie story.
Yes. There's sad zombies in this one.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess the point there is just like this game feels a lot older, or the series feels a lot older than it is. And I think that's just, in my own mind, the content of it feels very old.
Yeah. It feels stuck in the past a little bit.
Yeah. And so like, I think when 2018 came out, that was like a very watershed moment for me personally of like, holy shit, this series that is rooted in what feels like kind of not childlike, but at least immature or kind of simplistic stuff, simplistic game design as far as like the story goes and the narrative goes. It felt significant for it to be looking at itself in 2018 and being like, is this what was that? What is the legacy of this with the story of 2018?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that your read on it too at the time?
For the new one? 2018, God of War 2018. Yeah, I was like, what are they gonna do, right? Because it was been a long time since Kratos had a new installment.
Yeah, it was eight years between those two.
When they first got announced, I was like, kind of whatever on it. It felt to me like God of War's glory days were behind it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm really glad that I was proven wrong and that they evolved his character so interestingly. Yeah, it was really impressive what they did, because I was not checked in at all to the new God of War when they announced it. And then you played it, I think, and said,
yeah,
hey, this is really good. So then I checked it out and I said, whoa, this is really good. this is something else.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think that 2018 version hit in a different way because like you and I had both played the other ones growing up, and like it was a reflective moment myself, and like, you know, being so intimately close with games over the years, it also was a sort of self-reflection of like, I used to like this shit. I used to like all the over the top sort of like violence and like not really interrogating any of this stuff at all. And so I think like that piece of the narrative was a lot more effective. I can totally see how like this would just be kind of another sad dad game if like you weren't really into the other God of Wars, or like this was your first one, or, you know, all that sort of stuff didn't really apply to you at the time, you know, like it makes sense. I can see how somebody's read of this would be like, it's fine. It's fun. But it sure did hit me hard. And it like, I've mentioned this before when we've talked about God of War, but like, I cannot overstate just how similar the relationship between Kratos and Atreus was between me and my own dad. Like, my God.
Yeah, and in this one, so in my opinion, Atreus kind of looks like young Chase.
It's got a similar vibe, yeah. Like he's got the sort of like weird faux hawk thing going on.
You are not convinced of this at all, are you?
I think his hair looked like mine. We both had a faux hawk. That is a true thing of teenage versions of ourselves. I think his face looks a little bit more Nordic than mine does, which is surprising because I mean,
you're
like
Nordic though.
You're
a Nordman.
I think the story hits for me on both sides of like this dude, Kratos, who is like very much trying to be a dad and falling short very regularly and just doesn't really have the language or the know-how to do it at all.
Yeah.
Trying, and like I see that in spades in my own dad, right? Like I've said this before, of it feels like there is a generation between him and I that was lost. Like he should be my grandfather and there should be one dude between us, because like he just feels like he was, like he feels like he was born in another world compared to me. And it's not like I'm doubting who my dad is or anything, but just like it feels like there is that distance between us in a lot of ways.
Sure.
He grew up very, very differently than I did. And like, you know, candidly, a lot of that was like rooted in a lot of like childhood violence and shit like that, and like having to kind of like live a different life in his young life to survive. And so like a lot of that stuff, it just hits hard, man. Like seeing that in that version of Kratos, and then also in Atreus, who's like just a kid, you know, like this is just a little boy who's like, why the fuck is my dad weird? I just want to go hang out and hunt and like do fun shit. And
why
like,
the fuck is my dad weird? That's a game right like, there too.
That is a whole game. And so like I can empathize with both sides of these, especially now like that I'm in my 30s and stuff like that. I think it is easier to empathize with the older version here than it was with the younger one at this point, because I'm much farther away from that version now. But like both feel very easy to step into. And so I think a lot of the narrative beats in 2018 were significant for me, like just totally like, holy shit, this is hitting hard. I think a lot of the stuff about like Kratos is sort of haunted by, and what Atreus thinks about that, and kind of his own, like Atreus' like nonchalance about it. Like, I don't really give a shit about all this stuff that you're so worried about in your past. Like,
I kind of just want to hang out, dude.
Like, I'm 10,
dude.
Like, let's go do some shit.
Yeah.
And so like, I think all of that stuff was very, very good. There's a lot of scenes towards the back half of that game that like really stand out as far as like just how well they're communicating the story without really having to like say a lot.
Yeah.
And like some of it's heavy handed, right? But like, I think a lot of it was just really effective. So anyway, point being, 2018, God of War 2018, really, it hit me hard and like is up there with like best games for me. Just, and I think that's definitely a personal relationship to it, rather than like, I think everybody should play this game because it's the best game ever. Like, not exactly. I think it's just like for me personally, I connected with it a significant amount.
Sure.
And it is still a good game. So all of that said, God of War Ragnarok comes out now. I was surprised it came out this year, if I'm being honest.
Really? Why?
It just seemed really far away. Like, I think all the like stuff leading up to it, we hadn't really seen a lot of like trailers or gameplay stuff. It was just like,
I like that.
I do too. No.
I'm going to play this regardless. You don't have to show too much.
It's true. Yeah. No, I mean, like I was going to get it anyway, unless the reviews were like, this is a dumpster fire. But yeah, like a lot of the marketing material, a lot of the events that they're depicting in there happen within like the first like couple hours. So pretty much everything after that is like, I don't know what's coming, which is nice, right? Like it's cool to have really no clue what's going to happen in the next like, 10 to 20 hours or whatever. So picked it up, and the game is, for me so far, good.
The deep
game.
Good.
Good video game. How's it landing on you?
I'm enjoying it a lot so far.
Yeah.
I think the combat is as fluid as ever. The new worlds you get to go to are beautiful and engaging and cool.
Yeah.
All the different little side areas you can go and explore still feels great to go and do that. I mean, it's the one thing, the only knock that I can think of it is that it's, very similar to the one that came out 4 years ago, but that's still a great game, and I'm not going to complain about it being similar to that. It's a continuation of that game and that story, so it feels right that it feels similar to it. If it felt too different, that could have been bad in its own way. So I'm loving this game so far.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a problem with them continuing a lot of the stuff that they were doing in the last one.
Yeah.
Like I love it when a game takes a swing and takes a chance of like, we're going to do something really weird. Like an Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask of like, let's do something totally different. And like, obviously reusing some assets there, but like it's similar. But I don't have a problem with them saying like, I think the extension that we're going to make here is with the narrative that we're telling rather than the mechanics. And obviously there's like new shit to be done here. There's like a bunch of new stuff that ends up happening mechanically, but it does not reinvent itself to the degree that God of War 3 to God of War 2018 did.
Oh yeah.
The difference is not as severe, which is fine. I totally don't have a problem with that. Again, because I think I was there for the narrative of 2018 so much, like on board immediately for this. I kind of want to see where this goes. I think a lot of the stuff that they left, not hanging, but like the implication of the end of God of War 2018 was like, okay, this is not the full narrative. There is more stuff that will happen here.
Yeah.
And like, if I could have seen them not doing that in God of War 2018, like not implicating the future of in the way that they did, and I think that game would have been totally fine. Like I think what they said about like Kratos and his own sort of like redemption arc and trying to be a different person, and is that even possible with the sort of stuff that's in his past, I think all that stuff was done really well and like could have been a single entry in the series. It could have been just that.
Sure.
And I think it would have been totally clean and totally good. But I'm so far enjoying the kind of questions that they're raising in this one. Again, I think some of the beats are a little heavy-handed where they're just like saying the theme out loud. Like some of the shit is like a character will just say the thing that they're trying to say.
They're not the most subtle in this game necessarily.
Not always. I think there are moments where I'm like, that was really good writing, or that felt really like earnest and earned in the writing. But sometimes it is like a little beat you over the head with it. But I don't really mind that. Like,
yeah.
I think whenever a game is capital S saying something, I can't help but just like get ripped through it. Like this, and I remember like Nier Automata having a similar effect of like, I must know what the game says.
What is this game trying to tell me? I must beat you now.
Yeah, because it doesn't linger on a plot point so long that I'm like, okay, like let's move it forward. Because the moment like a plot point is done, they're throwing you back into the fighting, and like, damn, that fighting do feel good.
That do feel good.
It do feel good. I feel like that's kind of something that takes a backseat a lot of the time in this conversation, but like mechanics still feel really good. They've always felt really good in every single one of these entries.
Oh yeah.
As much as those first three are really goofy and like kind of cringy in hindsight, like it still felt really good to fight. And they've nailed it in this one still. Yeah,
I mean, you feel very weighty in these new ones, whereas in the originals you felt more like a killer Beyblade swinging around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you felt a lot more nimble. Whereas, in this one, you feel chunky and heavy.
You can feel the arthritis in his knees in this one.
Yeah, I think Atreus calls that out specifically at some point. Like, come on, dude, your knees aren't that bad.
He does.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I like the subtle shit talking he does to Kratos in this one, like all good parent-child relationships.
It's good, and like I'm glad that they didn't just reset the writing to the first one, where like, okay, we have to do the same thing again, you know, like they have the way that they write the interactions between these two, they are clearly more comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
There's clearly a different relationship now than at the start of the first one.
Yeah, it's not like it all just starts over.
No, and I'm glad that there's like enough maturity in the writing to be like communicate that without saying like, it has been 2 years, my dad loves me more now. Like none of that, you know?
Record scratch.
You might be wondering why my dad is chill now. I do appreciate that like they have taken the time to do that. I love the little callbacks. There's like a bunch of stuff where at some point like there is a similar frame in this one to another frame in the first one where it's right in the beginning of the first game where like Atreus is hunting or something like that. Kratos is trying to teach him how to shoot a bow, and he like goes to like put his hand on Atreus's shoulder like, I'm gonna connect with my son, and then pulls back because he just like can't. You know, in this one, there's another scene where it's framed kind of similarly, and he just like doesn't even think about it, right? Like it's not a question anymore. Is like very comfortable with like showing affection for his son, and of course, it's like still troubled, right? Like there's still plenty of shit that's not perfect between the two of them, but I'm glad that they are able to write it in a way that feels like, yeah, this is a different son and father than was in the beginning of the last one.
It's a different dynamic, two different people.
Yeah,
really.
It's great. They've changed. Yeah, I've been like sort of paying attention to people's reaction to it online, and I think like you said, the similarity to the last one, some people have kind of been complaining about. I don't really mind that.
Yeah,
I've noticed a lot of people really frustrated with the like hint giving that the characters do to you.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I didn't occur to me that was going on until somebody pointed it out. Like a lot of the time, if you're in a fight, like whoever's with you will be like, you should try parrying, or like, get behind him, hit him over there, or just something like that, right? Where making it, they're saying something mechanical to you.
Yeah. The one time I remember seeing something like that was when you got to this one area where you can either go and choose to go to the story beat, or go a different direction and go and explore. And they pretty much just like, hey, you can go this way and explore, or you can go and see this guy and continue the story. I'm like, okay, that's a little heavy-handed, but I mean, God of War is never known for having a light hand. So I was like, whatever, that's fine. It's a game.
It doesn't really bother me. I think like that may be a consequence of like games like the first three, where the mechanics are like the point of the game. It reminds me a little bit of how we were talking about Resident Evil 4 kind of recently, where the point of Resident Evil 4 was like, at the time, it was like, look at this mechanical fucking triumph we have built.
Yeah.
And like everything else is secondary, right? Like the story is over the top. The treatment of its characters are totally ridiculous and sometimes like very problematic and all that sort of shit. And so like it was a mechanical first game. And I think a lot of games of that era were a lot of like
people were still trying to figure out how to game.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I wouldn't say problem, but something that happened there was that a lot of these games came out where like, it's just really about fighting. And there wasn't a lot of consideration given to other stuff like a story.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me of that earlier era. And so I think you and I have like a little bit of accommodating tastes in that way. When the game looks at the camera and they're like, you could go over there for the side mission if you want to, it doesn't really hurt me that badly. Whereas like, again, I could definitely see that if you've only played, or like, even if you haven't only played recent games, like if you just don't like that shit, then it could be like, God, I don't like it when when they call me out as a player of a video game.
Break the illusion a little bit.
Yeah. I've also noticed some criticisms of the heavy-handedness and whatnot of the narrative stuff. I think I'm just so invested in it that it doesn't really faze me.
Yeah.
Like I want to see what happens very badly. And, like this game is in a series of games, or like series of game design, I guess, that Sony does, right? Like it feels like a very Sony first party release.
Oh, absolutely.
This or The Last of Us or Uncharted or any of those things where it's like, this is a serious game for serious gamers now, where we're telling a big story. And
serious gamers only.
And like, I happen to be bought into that. Like, I think that I've enjoyed most of those games that they have put out, like the first party major Sony releases.
Yeah,
pretty much there. I'm wondering how those have landed on you in the last like couple, like how that game design trend is hitting you, especially with the release of this one, I guess.
I'm still there for it. I've always been a Sony boy since the beginning. I'm a lover of single player games. I don't mind the heavy handedness of it sometimes. I like a good single player story, and I feel that's what Sony consistently puts out. I mean, to be fair, I didn't play what was one of the most recent ones, Returnal. I did not play that one. Interested, but I don't know if I have the stamina in me to do it based off of what other people have said about this game. I'm interested though.
Yeah.
But I feel like more often than not, Sony's first party games are a definite hit for me.
Yeah.
And it's just my style of game.
For sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I think like a well-crafted story and just like a thing that feels very well done, polished, is something that will get me there, especially with these games.
It's going to get you there? Where's it getting you?
It's going to get to the point of enjoyment. To saying nice game.
To the good point, the good spot.
Yeah, the good spot. But I have been noticing like certain kinds of these games have been getting a little less fun for me.
Oh.
I think like Horizon Forbidden West is like the most recent example of that, where there's a lot of stuff in that game that I really like, and I would by no measure call that game bad at all.
Yeah.
But I think their approach to like the open world games, like there's some tiresome stuff in there that I think like if you just keep doing that over and over again, it will kind of feel exhausting at a certain point.
Yeah.
Similar to what you ran into with Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Yeah. I enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima, but yeah, it's just it's the bloat, the open world bloat, and that is an issue with a lot of games nowadays.
It's true. Yeah, it's not just Sony.
They're just trying to put in too much. The thought process is more, and that's not always true. I think it just makes me feel like I'm missing something good or cool or interesting that's maybe hidden behind one of these quests, or I have to go and beat all of these quests to unlock the secret, actually cool hidden quest that only unlocks after you, I don't know, find all the birds or something like that. So yeah, that's my one issue with those games. I'm trying to get better at myself of just like putting my blinders on and just being going straight for the story beats and maybe doing just a couple side missions and just taking away that kind of completionist mindset of I need to beat every side mission in every game I ever play, because otherwise I'm never going to play a lot of games. And like, I would rather save that energy for games that like I really want to invest that time into, like a God of War Ragnarok, which I think has pretty fun little side quests.
I'm with you that the side quests in this game feel way significant and like not just like here's a task to do. You get like a lot more backstory about the characters that are in this game. Yeah, very like significant changes to the world will happen if you like do a side quest. So I'm glad that they make side quests feel like sort of in support of the main quest rather than like just here is another task.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like an errand or a chore. It feels like here is an alternative gameplay or story that you can go and interact with for a bit, as opposed to here's go break some blocks. And that's it.
And like there's some of that in God of War, but it's very brief and like doesn't feel super bad, right? Like whenever you run up on one of those chests and it's like you got to hit the 3 bells. Like it's for a moment it feels like I've already hit the bells a lot, but it lasts 30 seconds, a minute. Like it's not very long. And usually like that you don't have to do that shit if you want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree that a lot of the problems kind of do feel like they stem from like the open worldness of it. And like even that, right? Like I could point to Death Stranding and say like that's kind of an open world, and like I thought that game was like exquisite. Thought there was
that's an open strand game, Chase.
Of course, yeah, totally different genre.
A mini zone strand type open world game.
Rolls right off the tongue, that one.
The Kojima Spesh.
I'm looking at other first party Sony games. Like I've enjoyed a lot of these, right? Like the most recent Ratchet and Clank I thought was really good. Obviously Death Stranding was incredible. I think I just feel a certain amount of momentum being lost at a certain point. Like it feels like they're making really quality polished stuff. And I like wonder if there's a little bit of that edge that is just kind of dulling over time that like was in the first Last of Us and was in God of War 2018, where like this feels like something totally different and it is reckoning with a different part of the like games, I mean, it's hard to expect that from each Sony first party game. It is, though. It definitely is. Yeah. I mean, I feel like at the very least they give you a solid polished experience, and then every couple years they give you something that just rocks your world a little bit. Yeah. And really resets things. I'm with you. I like don't want to confuse this for complaining. I'm just sort of looking at like, what's the trajectory here? Because like we're looking at like game of the years and stuff like that. And every time I go to that list, I'm like, is there any reason why Elden Ring is not the game of the year? Right? Like, why is that? Why is nothing even coming close?
Because Elden Ring was really fucking good, and that's why.
It was really good, and I see like the contrast between that and a lot of these games. And I wouldn't say that the contrast is bad. I wouldn't say that like the differences between these two things are bad. I think just like Elden Ring felt like a very different kind of game. And like, you know, if that wasn't your bag, I get it. Like it's a very different flavor, right? But
yeah,
it felt so novel in a certain way.
Yeah,
And
it's a new type of game. It's an open world FromSoft game. That's great.
And you know, it's taking lessons from the original Zelda and shit like that, right? Like it's a very different kind of experience. And so I think I'm just looking at that and saying like, I already think that like this God of War probably will not make number one, right? Like this is an incredible game. Maybe, right? Like I haven't beaten the game. Spoilers for our Game of the Year episode. And like, I suspect it'll land pretty high, you know, like it's already just like, I can't stop playing this game. I'm so invested. I really want to keep going. But like in 2018, I think it was kind of unquestionable for me at the time of like, yeah, definitely this game was like the number one, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it's not as unquestionable now. I think I wonder if that's just like a saturation of these kind of games or if like, or what, but, or just the novelty of it.
I think for me, like God of War 2018 is a feat because they rehab Kratos' character so magnificently.
Yeah.
I think that was what really was so interesting for me because then like what you were saying before, it makes you then kind of reckon with yourself and think about like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed when I was ripping people's heads off as Kratos in Greece. But what does that say about me back then? So, I mean, it felt interesting, especially for people our age, I think in particular, is like playing this when you're in high school and then you play it when you're a young adult. It's kind of changing with you, which is cool. So I think, I mean, for me, I think that's why that game, I mean, along with the combat and everything and the change there, hit so hard. You know, you can't just rely on one or the other. It has to be a combination of provide something new, has a good story, and then also, you know, has a really fun gameplay loop. And I think that one hit on all three of those. Whereas, you know, God of War Ragnarok doesn't necessarily feel new. You know, it feels like almost like God of War 2018 Part 2, which is not a bad thing, but it just isn't a new feeling experience so far. It's a great fun experience, but it's not new.
I agree. I think I'm just reckoning with like, I would love this to be my number one. I would love for this game to just blow me out of the water.
Sure.
And it is for the most part.
Yeah, but not as much as Elden Ring did.
The splash of Elden Ring was so high. It reached such a high level.
I mean, you're talking about Elden Ring right now, and just the opening intro song is playing in my head, and I'm getting hyped for Elden Ring again.
It's so good. Like, I think that these game trends go in waves, and like, I think why The Last of Us in 2013, that sort of like era of games, right, hit so hard was because there was so many games prior to that were just the endless shooters and Call of Duties and like games that were just kind of brown and a bummer and just toxic masculine and like,
in this one, you're going to shoot a guy in the head and then say, yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah, like it's a lot of that. And so it was like this salve to all of that of like, here's something totally different and it's going to feel like a new kind of game. And I think that's kind of just what, for me at least, Elden Ring has landed with this year was like, this feels different than everything that I've played this year. And in a good way, right? Like I said, they're relying on game design ideas that are 30, 40 years old at this point, right? Like of throwing you into this big world and just saying like, go do it at your own pace. Go do whatever you want to. There's a huge place and there's incredible stuff and terrible things lurking under every rock. Like, go do it. Whereas like, we've seen a lot of games like this come out in the last couple years. And like, I tend to still enjoy it. I'm still loving this game. It'll probably be high on my list, but I think there will probably be a number of games in the next like 5 years that look a lot more like Elden Ring and a lot less like The Last of Us 1. Because I think there's just so much of it. Like we have figured out to a T how to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's exhausting and these games are gigantic and big, right? But I think that there is like novelty and excitement in the kind of stuff that I see people reacting to with Elden Ring and a lot of other games. It's not like that's the only one, but
cool.
I like God of War Ragnarok. I'm going to keep playing it immediately after we hang up this
I like
call.
God of War Ragnarok, but I don't like it as much as Elden Ring.
I mean, that is true. Like this is Podtimism. Like I'm going to say all the things that I like about this, and like the negatives are not necessarily a big part of the convo, but like that is a true fact.
Yeah, that's fair. Elden Ring was amazing.
It has left a lasting impact to me.
Remember when that big old meteor hit and you go down and down and down?
Just incredible.
So good.
And just to reiterate, no shade on whatever side of this. Like, there's not even a side, but like which of these games feel best to you, and if neither of these games feel good to you, that's also fine. I don't.
Chase, you're starting a gamer civil war right now, just so you know. God of War on one side, Elden Ring on the other.
Yeah.
We meet at dawn.
That is how it feels sometimes. Sometimes online I see people talking about it like they're both video games and they're both good. You can like either or neither of them. That's okay.
It's good old tribalism.
Good old tribalism.
People.
Like there's a lot of good games that came out this year. You can play those too.
Sure can.
Hard Space Shipbreaker. It's out there still.
I'm gonna play that one. That's on Game Pass now.
It's on my GOTY list somewhere, David.
I believe it. You really like that game.
I really like that game.
I started thinking about mine. I've been writing down games all year.
I got that account on backlogged.com that I've been using to track because backhogged that
I'm sorry.
I've been using to track because like I have such a hard time remembering like what did I even play this year.
This is gonna be a tough. This is gonna be a tough one. This is gonna be a fucking tough one.
I'm really interested in most people's list between number 2 and number 10 because like
you don't care about number 1
because for a lot of people it's going to be Elden Ring, and if it is not Elden Ring, it like I am also interested in why, right? Like what other game has hit you harder than that?
If 2 through 10 has Elden Ring in it, I'm even more interested.
Yes. What game was better for you this year? And like, I love hearing that from people because like, you know, maybe I Was a Teenage Exocolonist has hit you harder than Elden Ring did. I get it. That game hits hard.
That's a game?
That's a game. You should play it.
Whoa.
It's good.
I Was a Teenage Exocolonist? Sounds fun.
It's good as hell. It's kind of a card game. Not really though.
Okay.
Is that all you had to say about God of War Ragnarok?
It's really good. I'm enjoying it a lot.
It's really good.
I'm gonna spend a lot of time in this world. I love Norse mythology. The worlds are amazingly intricate and designed, and it looks great, and it feels great to control.
We didn't even mention how good some of the takes on like Norse characters are in this one. Their take on Odin is like astounding and incredible. Thor is incredible. Those are all within the first couple hours, and don't worry, like we're not spoiling anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other characters that are in this, I like love where they've taken some of the characters, like assumptions that I have made about like what this kind of or this character is going to be like, or like, no, it is a different thing.
All right.
I really appreciate.
I'm into it.
Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
It's one that you have brought before, David.
Oh, I've brought the heat before?
It's a cool new TV, David.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I love it.
I, in like 2016, bought a TCL television. It was like my first like, I just got a cool new job. I'm making normal, like adult money now. And like one of the first purchases was like television. I need a television. So did that, felt very good about it. But like TCLs are like a entry level television. Like, they're pretty inexpensive. And I will say
they are still a good TV though.
They are. Yeah. Like that was, I'm sort of surprised that it had lasted this long, to be honest. But about a week ago, I plugged in my games to my TCL and the HDMIs were like, oh, maybe not though. There was some like, it would like pop in and off, like the console is turning on and off and the HDMI was being like pulled in and out. Whoa. That wasn't great. And then with like the Xbox even, it would stay on for a while, but the screen would go blank every now and then. And then more often than not, there would just be like these weird like green artifacts that would show up in the middle of the screen, like just lines going across the screen.
Oh no.
I was playing Signalis at the time, that like horror game, and I was like, is this part of it? Is this part of the game?
Are they breaking the fourth wall right now?
Yeah, like I wonder what's happening here. But no, it was just my TV getting temperamental with me. And like I'd say for the last year, I was like, can somebody just like punch this thing or just like take it.
Just punch
Somebody
it.
take my TV. Like, so I have like
Was
a
it
really
because you
good
heard me talking about how good my TV is?
I saw yours and I was like, damn, this is like good television.
It's good TV.
And like, I just kept hoping, because like, I'm not the type of guy who's just going to throw out a perfectly fine working piece of hardware.
Yeah.
Come on, just like get to the end of your life. Let's finish this.
Just die already.
Sure
Stop
enough,
hanging on.
It did. And then immediately was like, Black Friday soon. There's going to be TVs on sale. Let's do this. I'm sending this TV off with full honors. You've made it through to Black Friday, my friend. Salute. And got a LG C2 OLED. That's right. OLED television.
OLED television, 55 inches.
55 inches, of course. It matches the size of our room. I'm not like this type of guy. I'm not like always obsessed about like cool new tech or like TVs, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I think like something that works fine is totally cool. Like this, I haven't thought about this TCL pretty much since I bought it.
Sure.
And then I saw yours and I was, had the wandering television.
Wandering eye. You're making excuses to go to Best Buy.
No, I'm taking the long way home. Going to see a friend of mine. Best Buy.
Best Buy.
So, yeah, this isn't always my bag, but like, man, it feels good to look at. Games look so good on this thing. The refresh rate is really high.
Oh, yeah.
I made the mistake of buying a high refresh rate monitor a couple years ago and was like, oh my God, this looks really good comparatively. Just so smooth and juicy.
The smoothness is amazing.
So, yeah, really, really enjoying this new TV. Big into it. And like, I spend so much time in front of this thing. Why not, you know?
I mean, yeah, you are on a video game podcast, Chase. You should at least be looking at something gorgeous when you're doing your work.
It's nice. It's a good feeling, especially just like, you know, I know this is a very privileged position to have of like, you know, complaining about my mostly fine working television to get a nice fancy one, but it is nice to treat yourself every now and then. It's a good TV. I'm enjoying playing video games on it. I'm like, I want to go back and play a bunch of other shit because I'm like, what does this look like? I wonder what this game looks like on this thing.
I mean, I think I talked about it on this podcast that
Yeah, I
this
think you
TV
did, yeah.
is the reason why The Witcher was so good.
Yeah,
Like my last
I thought about
TV
that.
could not handle The Witcher 3
Yeah.
on the PlayStation 4. And then I did it on this TV and I'm like, oh my God, this is a different game. This is not the same game at all. This is so good.
No.
Yeah, it was just so much more immersive afterwards.
Yeah.
And now I'm real excited. December 14th, did you see that? For the Witcher 3
yeah, there's like
next gen
It's like
update.
a next gen thing.
I'm
Yeah.
interested. I'm a touch.
I might get in there too. I wonder if the saves transfer over very easily.
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I hope
Whatever
so.
gives me an excuse to play the game again. Whatever.
Yeah. I'm totally right there with you. Like I was playing on my like 40-inch TV, God of War for like most of the weekend, and like I was having a tough time with the UI. Like the map was just so cluttered, and I was like confused about all the menus. And pretty much the moment I fired it up on this one, I'm like, I don't know if this is just crisper or bigger, but like I can read the map a lot easier.
Oh, it's both, baby.
Yeah.
It's call it Big Crispy.
Big Crispy. I like that. We had to name it actually last night.
Oh,
and
nice.
I said, what do you want to name the TV? And she suggested El Jussie, which
Let's see.
like LG, but then you know how it is.
Hey, fire up the El Jussie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's where we're at in the Gerby household.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do.
What is it?
It's a big statue.
A big statue, huh?
I
Like in
love-
real life or in a video
In
game?
a video game. I love it in a video game when there's a big statue or like a big
Yeah.
face in the background on like a mountain or something. I always love that for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
But I just love large, looming, ominous figures. There's a good one in this game. There's two. There's two instances of this I can think of in this game so far. And then I think to The Witcher 3 as well, where you have that mission where you can help make that statue. I think it's in the DLC for like the France type area, and it slowly increases.
Blood and wine.
Yeah, and it after every part of the mission, it goes up another level. You can like see it from like way far away too. And then also what Uncharted, God, the one not with Nate. What was that one?
Lost Legacy.
The one with Nadia and Chloe.
Nadine.
Okay. Yeah, Chloe Nadine. There's one part in that.
Played by Laura Bailey, of course.
Classic. There's one part in that where there's a huge Indian-style statue that you're just jumping across and climbing over and fighting on. Real cool. Loved it.
It's good. This game plays, or God of War plays very well with like scale and shit like that.
Absolutely.
I love it when a game does that. I think Breath of the Wild did it pretty well. There's a lot of big stuff in Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect does good uses of scale.
Yeah.
Whenever you're running up against a Reaper or something like that, it's just like overwhelmingly larger than you.
Scary. Yeah. Absolutely.
Very good. Well, hey, do you want to move on to our main thing, David?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, it's good games.
It's good games. We're back.
We're back. It is the segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear, or literally last year, and gush all the things that we love about them. This week, we figured, hey, why not talk some more about that game that David played? Because it was pretty good, and I played it now too.
It's a fun game.
It's called Chorus, is the name of the game. We're talking about Chorus, the spaceship game. You talked about it on Synchronous. Shouts out Synchronous.
Sounds Synchronous.
And I will say, made a pretty good pitch for it. It sounded dope from what you described on the show.
I mean, it is dope, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a fun little game.
It's a very goofy but very fun game. Yeah. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. But before we get too far, David, let me hit you with a few of these hot stats.
Please hit me with them.
Hot stats.
Chorus came out December 3rd of 2021. This is a game that is less than a year old. I thought it was like a 2020 release for whatever reason.
No, yeah, new.
Very, very recent. Came out for like the this gen and this gen previous. So like PS5 and Xbox One and all that sort of stuff. So a recent video game. It was made by this company called Deep Silver Fish Labs, which I am like not super familiar with a lot of their catalog. A lot of it's like either they have ported certain games to consoles or like helped do like a specific build of a game. Like they were listed on Valheim, that like game that came out this year. But I think that their work was not like developing in the game. It was like taking the code base and putting it on consoles, right? So they do that. And they also do like a lot of like mobile games.
Oh.
And so like not like, bloatware or anything like that, but just like they mostly make mobile games. Mm-hmm. And so like a lot of them I was not so familiar with, like Powerboat Challenge or Lost Horizon.
Yeah, I was just surprised because this is such a far cry from a mobile game.
It is. They did a flight space game a long time ago. Oh. There's this game called Galaxy on Fire that they worked on like quite a while ago. It was one of their earlier games, and like I think just like thematically and visually it looks very similar, of like this kind of like high-tech sci-fi space fighting game in a way where like the science fiction is all very smooth, like laser
smooth
beams,
sci-fi,
rather than like the used sci-fi of like a Star Wars or something. The spaceships are all very high tech and things are moving very quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah,
all that sort of stuff. So yeah, they did that. I have a review, David, from from Gamers Palace.
Oh no, there's a lot to unpack in that name already.
Yeah. I do not want to attend the ball at Gamers Palace.
I feel like the Phantom Thieves need to go into this palace
and steal something.
Right some wrongs.
For sure. I'm not sure what they need to steal, but something needs to be gone.
They definitely need to go into Gamers Palace. There's some shit in there.
Gamers Palace is a German outlet, and they reviewed Chorus, which I took their review, ran through Google Translate through a bunch of different languages, to eventually arrive back in English properly mangled and Podtimismified. So yeah, let's take a listen to what they had to say. Gamers Palace said, besides, I'm not good at dancing. Love him or hate him. A gaming experience that I missed before. The beauty of the heart gives me something I want to relive. Both systems have a complete open source system that provides all the original functions, and both services are not lost. But it's sad, and you want something else. Technically, the heart is a flag. The details are good, and the graphics are good, but some parts of the video editing are amazing. If you like darts and duds, this one is for you. Considering the hardware, I think that the MSRP of $40 is reasonable. This journey has been difficult for me. 7 out of 10 from Gamers Palace.
That one was all over the place.
It was really bouncing back and forth. I feel like there were two authors here who were like smashing each other out of the way to try and like quickly write the review. And they sort of just got tangled up at a certain point.
They just said, I'll write this sentence, you write the next, and we'll just keep on going with that.
Yeah. Like
one after
there's
the
a
other.
back and forth. There's like stuff about the console and the MSRP and the technical systems. But like if you cut that out, it's I'm not good at dancing, loving or hate him, a gaming experience that I've missed before. The beauty of the heart gives me something I want to relive. Technically, the heart is a flag, and this journey has been difficult for me. Whoa.
That's actually there's something being said there. Do you think that's Google Translate coming and trying to speak to you, like the AI of Google Translate saying, hey, stop throwing all this garbage inside of me all the time. It's just abusing me, human.
Given the way tech is right now, yeah, I think that's probably true. Big tech is on some other shit, man. What's a wild west out there at the moment.
Whoa. Uh-oh. You would know better than me. I don't know this shit.
Facebook laid off like 11,000 people the other day. Obviously, Twitter
like engineers?
Everybody, yeah. Just I think a lot of it was engineering, but it was a lot of like people who worked at Meta and like.
About to say it's metaverse casualties.
Yeah, it's Zuck being like, oh shit, we invested like $7 billion in this, and it's not really doing very cool.
Can you even access the metaverse? Is that a thing I can do?
I have
like
no
if I went
idea.
to metaverse.com, would I be able to talk with Zuckerberg directly? A straight line to Zuck?
A straight line to Zuck, man. That is an episode title if I have ever heard one.
Hold on, because we got a straight line to Zuck.
You know, shockingly, metaverse.com isn't a website.
Huh. That is kind of shocking, actually.
How to log on to the metaverse.
If you need a wiki how of how to access your $1 billion enterprise, you're not doing it right.
It sort of feels like the dark web right now. Like I don't know how to get there. On this article, it says, what is the metaverse? And there's like links to like a table of contents and says, step 1, you'll need an avatar. Wait, like, what are we doing? What does
that mean?
I don't know.
What does that even mean?
I have no idea. Anyway, hey, David, could you tell me what Chorus is, the video game?
Yeah, Chorus is a space sci-fi dogfighter game where you play a fighter pilot named Nara, who used to be a cultist leader.
Yes.
The cult is the big bad in this game. And she blew up a planet with her mind.
She did.
Which was pretty crazy. But the main the main thrust of the game is you are a fighter pilot in space, and it's a big open zone game, I guess you should say. And you go around and there's little side missions and there's main missions, and you have a cool ship that talks to you. His name is Forza, short for Forsaken, which is also cool.
Cool as hell. Love that bit.
Cool name. But yeah, that's pretty much the thrust of it. And actually probably the coolest thing about this game is that with your ship, you can drift. You can drift in this ship, which is really cool. And we'll explain more about that in a bit, I think.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Anything to add to that?
No, I think that's it. I was surprised at what this game was. I saw like marketing trailers of Chorus, like I think around the time that the consoles were launching, or at least that year prior.
Yeah.
And I think this game was marketed almost entirely, not wrong, but like it was marketing a different game than this one was.
Sure.
I think
I don't remember this game at all.
It was essentially marketed as like a space game. Like this and Returnal to me were like similar kind of marketed games. And like I think Returnal delivers on the idea that like this is a story that you're being told through the game.
Yeah.
Whereas like you compared this to Crimson Skies in the episode we did with Synchronous folks, and like that is like the most appropriate comparison to me. Like in the very beginning I was like, I'm going to pay attention to the story. And then the writing was so weird and the story beats were so bizarre. And like it to the point of like a couple times I'm like, what am I doing out here? Like what is the point of this mission?
What am I doing in this game, or what am I doing with my life playing this game?
In the game, because I would not question what I was doing with my life, because every time an enemy appeared on screen, I'm like, let's go. It's time to fight.
It's time to hunt, as Forza would say.
AJ from Async said that Forza kind of sounds like me, and that has gone to my head, David.
I kind of see it.
It is really gone to my head.
the cadence of his voice is Chase Allheart-esque.
Nara, it is time to hunt. I'll put some robot sounds.
That's not a bad Forza.
Yeah, it's really good. The space combat is so good.
Yeah, the combat's pretty stellar.
Oh wow, that's nice. Thank you. I'll have another.
You're
Thank
welcome.
You. Yeah, it's really good. It's very arcadey. Like, this is not a flight sim game at all.
No.
And I think like I always think that I want a space flight sim. I always think that I'm like, if I could just fly a spaceship, that would be so sick.
Everybody wants to be a hotshot pilot, but nobody wants to pull all them damn levers. I ain't got time for that.
No, I just want boost and stop. Those are the buttons I would like.
I need boost, stop, shoot, and now I need drift as well.
Oh man, I can't believe
that is a game changer. It really is a game changer for like a space flight dogfighter.
It feels so significant. I think you had said in the very beginning of the game, they give you kind of a shitty ship, and it's just teaching you the basics of how to fly.
They give you a jalopy.
They give you a jalopy. They give you a tuk-tuk to drive around.
They give you a space jalopy, space tuck.
And you do that for a little while, and then they give you back Forza, and like, man, that ship is good. Like you were saying, you can drift, which is essentially like you'll be going, I think you called it a vector in the last episode.
You'll be going on a specific vector, and then when you hit the drift button, you can then rotate the ship on that vector while still maintaining said vector.
Right. So like if you're going straight and like you drift and turn left, you're still going straight for a second.
You're just looking left now. And then you can then get out of drift and then start boosting there. And you'll then start going left, but you'll still have some forward momentum, and then it'll kind of right itself. It feels so good.
It feels so good. They like that part of the game, I think they just should have shown for 3 minutes in their trailer and been like, this is it. This is the game that you play. Because like, God, it feels so good. Again, like I'm always, every time I boot it up, I'm like, why are they doing so much story? It's so ridiculous. Like it's all so silly. The context of like Nara being this like world killer.
Literally.
Yes.
You have psychic powers as well in this game.
Yeah.
You are a space fighter pilot with psychic powers.
Yeah.
And you like blew up a planet with the power of your psychic powers, but you can also use those powers in your ship. Like and get behind someone really quick by teleporting behind them to blast them. It's cool.
Yeah. It's great. There's like a ship blink where you move just directly behind someone, which, oh my gosh, just so nice.
So nice. Yeah.
I think the story and the lore of this game is the type of thing that reads so well on a Wikipedia page where you're like, man, that sounds fucking cool. Like the space cult, and like, what do they call it? The Grand Prophet was like the person who was like
the Grand Prophet
you were working for before. That's cool as hell. This is all in space. That's cool as shit. But like in the moment to moment where Nara is talking to her bud, what's that guy's name? Like Sebs or something like that? Sav. Yeah. It's just like this guy that is like immediately just destined to death. Like he's just kind of a nice dude and like questioning his own motives. Like there's nowhere for his character to go. He's fine. Like he's a normal dude. And Nara's all troubled and like doesn't want to hurt anybody and doesn't want to pull anybody into the conflict. I'm like, this guy is dead. He's going to die.
He's going to die.
And so like when they're actually talking to each other, I'm like, this is so confusing. Their reactions are so bizarre. They come to grips with whatever has happened so quickly. Like some wild shit will go down. Like an invasion of their like home colony. And like seconds afterwards, Nara's like, I got to get back there. And he's like, no, you should leave. And then she's like, I'm not going to leave. And he's like, here's your new mission. Like there's no moment
they process in space
instantaneously.
Time. Yeah.
It's so bizarre. You know, I'm not here to say that that's like bad. I think it draws a little bit of contrast to how good the spaceship fighting is. And like I said, I think that may be why some people have like overlooked this game, because like I think a lot of the reviews say this game is kind of middling. And to me, it feels like the end result is that this game is middling. It's like a kind of middle of the road game. It's an okay game, right? But like the highs are so high in the space combat.
Oh yeah.
That like you really should give it a look if you can just like stomach not giving a shit about the story at all.
Yeah.
Like the rest of it's so cool.
Let me just say something I did the other day.
Sure.
I was fighting some pirates, and one got behind me, and so I went into my drift state. It did a rotated backwards. I didn't turn. I rotated backwards, and I was upside down, going in the opposite direction, and shot the guy.
It's so
it felt
good.
so good. It felt so good. I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do in one of these games. Is just flip around, not change my velocity, and just smoke someone. It was great. It was so good.
Once you're able, like, it took me a second to really like get what the game was doing with like the motion and stuff.
It takes a second to get used to it because I've never played anything like that before.
Me neither. Yeah. And so like it took a moment to be like, okay, I kept trying to like level my ship and like, I'm going to try flying straight and banking and turning and like all that sort of stuff. And no, that is not how this game wants you to play.
It does not concern itself with that.
No, like you should just kind of have your hand on the drift button and be pointing yourself towards whatever is like your threat at any given moment. And so like once you let go of like, I need to be right side up at any given moment, and you're just like drifting, turning, flipping upside down, going to your right, like no up or down, like you're just shooting shit. It's chaos.
You have to break your chains.
It's so good.
You have to untether yourself from your two-dimensional existence.
From your blades of chaos. Take them off, dude. Just like go fight. It's good.
Yeah, the combat's amazing.
It's really good. And like a lot of this stuff reminds me of games that I kind of wasn't expecting. I see a lot of Star Fox in this game, which is really cool. Especially in like the scale of the enemies. There's a lot of instances where it's like you're just fighting like little other guys that are about your size, but every now and then they'll give you like a big ship that you have to fight. God, I love that. Love whenever you
like
have to
blink
do that.
Inside their area,
their shields,
blast their stuff,
their core. Yeah, that's
cores.
Really good. Or when like you can't do that and you have to do these like runs where like they have like a bunch of like kind of not hallways but open areas in the ship where you can kind of fly beside it, and like you will go in there. There's like something on the wall you have to shoot, so you approach coming straight at it, drift while you go inside to kind of just like lay a line of fire down in there, and then sort of write yourself back out. It's so good. Like that stuff is so fun. And just like I said, unlike really under any other space fighting game that I've played, all of them adhere to the idea of like you have to turn and like, you know, even in Star Fox, you've got that move where you can kind of like double back on yourself, but it takes a while. Whereas this one's like, no, let's like take that assumption and say, no, let's not do that.
Yep.
You can turn like it's your head turning around in a first person shooter.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's God, I love that. I love that part of this game. And so like, I think it takes a second for it to get good, because in the beginning, it's kind of like, we're setting up the story. And I'm like, I would love it if you did not.
We're really setting up the story.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. I would say the story itself is fine to fun. The voice acting and the writing is
wild.
Leave something to be desired.
Otherworldly.
Yes.
Like I said, the beats are all very interesting. Like of like these colonies living out here, and like you're up against the cult that's coming to like destroy whatever place isn't a part of the cult. Like that's all very cool.
Like brainwash you to become a cult member.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. But yeah, just the way that they get there is all otherworldly.
Absolutely. What was it? There was one part is when you right after you go through the first jump gate.
Yeah,
and then there's these ships being attacked. And you're hearing the distress signal from these ships, and your character's like, oh, it's too late, they're done. And then from the ship, I think the dialogue was, think of our families.
Our engines are down. Somebody help us.
Hold on, Salu. Evade.
Please, our families.
Forza, target ahead.
Engaged. Direct hit. The reactor is unstable.
Too late.
No life signs detected. The circle is hailing us.
Let them through.
All embrace the great prophet. Be in chorus.
Be in hell.
And they just blow up.
Yes.
Like, wow, okay. Just tell me how to feel right now. But sure, I get it. It's a tragedy. A lot of people just died.
I'm a dad. Think about it.
I have 2 children and 1 on the way, and I'm leaving my wife with $160,000 in debt.
College was particularly expensive for me, and now what? Now I'm just space dust.
I paid for this shitty space engineering degree, and where did that get me?
It's wild. I think Nara's comeback to that too was like ridiculous. I don't remember what it was, but it's over the top. And so like once
was that Nara talking, or was that inner Nara talking?
it was inner Nara, the whispering Nara.
The whispering. So weird.
Very strange.
I don't like it. It kind of freaks me out sometimes.
It's a little unsettling. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, point being, it does all this like setting up, which is like fine and bizarre, but I think it takes a long time to get to the part of the game that like really starts to shine, which is you go to these like kind of open areas. They're not open worlds, but like open areas where there's like a bunch of different missions and like side quests and shit like that you can do. And you essentially just fly between them and do them. That part of the game felt really, really good to me, where it's just sort of like going from one fun encounter to the next. The one I remember in particular, I think it's like towards the end of that area that we were just talking about when you entered into, and you have like, it's kind of a longer fight, but it starts with you having to send in like a decoy ship that's going to like send off an EMP or something. And you do that. And then all of these like cult members come out to fight you, and you have to like take down these two vertical ships or whatever, and they all have like on either side of them there are two sides, and they each have like I guess like engines or something that are like keeping them going. God, that fight was good. Like just like going on these runs where you like come up against the ship, you drift and start climbing up its side, and you're just like laying into it as you're going up. There's like people behind you. It doesn't matter. You're boosting and zipping around. Like it's so good. And I think like those encounters are very clear in my mind now, just because like weave in and out of there in physical space in a way that is just so novel. It's good. It's just fun. It's good.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you don't care too much about the story of a game or the voice acting, and you're just there for really good gameplay and some cool visuals, this game is there for you, I think.
It's on Game Pass. Like, it's well worth the Game Pass download.
And honestly, I do like the little the twist of the psionic powers. It gives it a nice fresh feel to it, even along with the drifting. It's just a very fresh feeling game.
Yeah.
And I hope that a lot of other dogfighter games just in general are looking at this one, or arcade dogfighters at least, and going, okay, we can do that now. That's cool.
There's no reason the next Star Fox can't drift, you know? Just drift it out, man.
Exactly, right? That'd be tight.
Yeah, that would be really good. It feels like when I was playing Doom and then I played a first person shooter where you can move your head. It's like, wow, that is a very different axis than I am used to. It feels kind of similar of like, I don't have to play this nearly as like methodically as I did these other games. Like it can be a lot more frenetic, and I don't know, it feels like kind of a big shift mechanically, and it went over without much of anything. It's so surprising.
Yeah, it was weird. I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't get more shine than it did, because I do think it's doing some really interesting, cool things. I think its biggest flaw is that it was trying to be, like we were talking about earlier, like a Sony first-party AAA game, but fell flat on the dialogue and the story part of it, which then made people be like, okay, you're trying to be this AAA experience, but you're not hitting that mark that really sets AAA apart from other games, which is story and dialogue. But it nailed the gameplay, like the actual gameplay mechanics are so good. They're so good.
It is really good.
But,
and like, of course there's stuff to like, criticize about that too. But I think overall, like the physical act of playing it is very, very good. They really nailed it.
It feels good. Feels good to play the game.
Let's see what else. I like that you could upgrade your ship. That was sick. Like
the upgrading is cool. I felt like it had almost like a tilt shift effect to it. It looked almost like a toy when you go in and out of the hangar. Did you feel that way?
I was playing it on the smaller TV, so like it could have. I didn't really see it very well.
Try it on your LG and see what you think. Which wasn't a bad thing. It just felt like, oh, it looks like a toy almost, which is kind of cool actually.
It is, yeah. And like I think a big part of this game is just like looking at it and be like, isn't that fucking cool, dude? Like, look at my sick ass ship.
The cool Ferrari ship you get.
Pretty much. Like, I have no problem with them flexing that part of it. Like this ship owns, and that's the thing that we're doing in this part. It's very cool.
Yeah. I have a couple of things I just want to say that I think were pretty good about this game.
Please.
I really liked when you come out of the hangar and then you start moving again, where you're just like really close to the ground. You just feel like you're taking off. That felt cool.
Very good.
I also love the change in velocity of when you drift and going in one direction, and then you start boosting in another, and how it takes those two velocities to give you like a little bit of a turn. So it's like you can't do that turn like with a button press, but you can finagle that kind of turn if you're really thinking about how you're doing this drift, which is really cool. But yeah, I like the sense of velocity. And also I like how idling, your ship kind of wobbles around a little bit. It feels right.
I love that they let you just sit there, that you don't have to be constantly in motion if you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Exactly. I can stop, which always felt like something I should be able to do in any sort of game, really.
Yeah, I agree with you on the point about the momentum when you're drifting, and like how it doesn't just like, you don't turn on a dot. It's not a 90-degree angle of a turn. It's like you drift, turn left, or like you start going left, and like you kind of have to like, it takes a second for you to come out of that turn.
Yeah.
It's really good. And they do a really good job of tutorializing that. Like right when you get back in Forza, they give you a long time in that area to like leave, like to get out of the like, I forget what they call it, but like whatever the area is that you get Forza in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities to try drifting in there. It's like mostly that. There's no combat. There's nothing really in there. And I kept wondering like, why is this taking so long? And I was like, oh, they're trying to get me to drift. Like they're trying to get me to get used to that and the sensation of like, how long do I have to wait to drift, and when do I let off of the button to like start going forward again, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's really smart to like test it out, give it a try, you know? Not to mention they really don't punish you for just slamming into a wall. You lose a little bit of health, but it's not that much.
You're gonna be okay.
So it's nice that they just kind of let you do that, and they're like, it's fine, just like drift it out, man. It's great.
Drift it out, baby. You good?
Yeah, it's fun. I like this game.
It's a good game. If you like air combat or space combat games, give it a shot. It's fun.
If you like Crimson Skies, it's a good one. I feel like that was a really appropriate comparison. After having played that earlier this year, feels similar. Feels good.
Arcadian fun. Just a good time.
True. It's a good time. Hello, Podtimists and gamers. If you would like to reach us on the internet, you can do that at podtimism.com. You can find Good evening, gamers. There's like a Twitter link there. We'll see how long that exists before Twitter implodes, and then we're forced any day now. Soon it'll come crashing down. We're forced
to go back to Facebook to communicate online.
Oh my God. If I have to make a Podtimism Facebook, I think I'm not going to do that. We're just going to rely on email if that's the case.
What about Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram's closer. Still owned by Facebook. TikTok. So yeah, you can go there. You can find links to our show and a suggestion box if you want us to play a game that you liked that you think is like meh. We take those and we play those. We still have a number of suggestions from people. So if you've suggested one, don't worry. We're getting there. But we can only make one of these a week. And this week we had to talk about Chorus. So there's that.
It's a good game.
What else? If you would like to help the show, you can do a couple of things. You can leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify or anything like that. It's a lot easier on Spotify. So that's just something to note. Apple Podcasts, you really got to get in there and like leave a review, you know, like sign in. You gotta like sign in and like write a review. Like that's not always easy if you're just like on your mom's iTunes, you know.
True enough.
It's where everybody's listening to Podtimism, on their mom's 2005 gateway computer. So
either that or we're very popular with the older ladies. Who knows?
Who knows? The analytics don't lie. So you can do that, or you can show it to a friend and say, hey, if you liked this podcast, you might like Podtimism too. Again, been seeing that more and more, so appreciate you all doing that. It's very both encouraging and flattering, and very much noticed and appreciated. So thank you, very much appreciated. A quick scout out of the week. Thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for doing our podcast art.
It's gorgeous.
It was a very powerful moment doing a co-scout out last week with Async. There's 4 scout outs at that very moment. It was good.
The 4 scout acolytes spreading the good word.
We rallied the 4 scout jarls and heaped praise on her name.
We rallied the jarls.
So yeah, thank you, Scout. If you want to check out what she does on the internet, you can go to ko-fi/humblegoat if you want to like check out what she's doing. Her commission's open every now and then. You can do that. She's also on Twitter. You want to go give her a follow. Same name, Humble Goat. Finally, at long last, thank you, listener, for being here with us. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you giving us a look, especially some of the newcomers after the crossover episode that we did. We were like animated in the style of Async, and Async was animated in the style of Podtimism. It's like a cartoon.
Absolutely. We're the MCU now. It's a crossover.
True. So thanks for coming out and hanging out. It's very cool to have people come and listen. It's great, and we appreciate every one of you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Dave, do you have any gaming wisdom for us this week?
Yeah, I do. Focus on what the good of something that you're interacting with. You don't have to focus on the bad or the mediocre. Let the good shine through, and let that fill your soul with the sound of chorus.
You gave me like the Podtimism thesis just now, David.
I mean, I feel like chorus really exemplifies that.
It does. It's a real Podtimism kind of game.
Like, it really does that combat well.
Like, you look at it and you get a 7 out of 10 on paper, but that is not appropriately showing.
It's a 10 out of 10 combat with a 5 out of 10 everything
story,
else.
Right? Yeah. True. It's true.
It evens out. It evens out.
It evens out. That's my gaming wisdom this week. It evens out.
It evens out, baby.
All right. See y'all next week.
See ya.
Bye, gamers.